Of course, the government are coming under pressure in some parts to try and get involved in Donald Trump's threatened legal action against the BBC. Speaking to Lisa Nandy earlier, she said that this British government have not spoken to Donald Trump's administration at this stage as we await Donald Trump's moves and whether or not he'll pursue his defamation suit, having received an apology from the BBC. Let's speak to Sabine, who's the spokesperson for the Lib Dems on culture, media and sport. Sabine, thanks so much for being with us. As I said, Lisa Nandy says that the government haven't spoken to the US administration yet about this. She said it's a responsibility of the BBC at this stage.
Well, Prime Minister in Prime Minister's questions on Wednesday said that he stood ready to support the BBC and now's the time to do it. Ed Davey and I from the Lib Dems have written to the Prime Minister saying, you're saying you want to support the BBC, you need to pick up the phone to Donald Trump and get him to drop this ridiculous lawsuit, which would cost BBC licence payers, British licence payers, $1 billion. We're about to have a budget in a few weeks. We're talking a lot about the cost of living crisis. Is the Prime Minister going to sit by and watch as Donald Trump costs British people $1 billion? I would hope not, and I would hope that's something worth calling out.
Yeah, £760 million is how it would convert to in our money. Is there a danger here, Sabine, of getting ahead of the sequencing of this? The BBC perhaps are thinking they may be kicking themselves for getting ahead of their apology, Deborah Turness and Ed Davey having to resign prior to Donald Trump making his further demands. Do we need to see what happens next before that call comes in from the government?
Well, I don't think it's about sequencing, although I agree the sequencing has been poor, and that's one of the lessons the BBC is going to learn. What the Lib Dems would like to see is the government robustly defending our national broadcaster in the face of an attack from a supposed ally, an ally in Trump who has been trying to bring down his own national broadcaster. The BBC is not just a huge cultural institution in the UK, it's a huge source of soft power for us across the world, including with things like the World Service, and it needs robust defence. And I think that regardless of the timing, the Prime Minister needs to hop on the call and show that he's active in his defence of the BBC, not just that he's offering it warm words.
I mean, the Prime Minister, as you say, has said it earlier in the week. Lisa Nandy said it again to me this morning. And I guess they, like you, like everyone else, is now waiting to see Donald Trump's Truth Social to see whether he accepts the apology, the retraction, and that personal letter that we understand was sent by Samir Shah.
But you know, if you had a friend that was being beaten up, you wouldn't just stand next to them and go, "Oh, I stand ready to support you." You know, you get stuck in, and I want to see the government getting stuck in on this. They're sounding very supportive, but they're not doing what would actually be helpful, which is to speak to Donald Trump about it. We're being bullied here by Trump again on another issue, and it's not acceptable.
Of course, this is about the relationship with the Americans, but the BBC do have form in paying foreign leaders damages. As you may well know, Petro Poroshenko, former president of Ukraine, was paid damages for a report back in 2019. Amazingly, how the universe works, that was related to Donald Trump as well. But the BBC paid out those damages, not clear how much was paid. But the BBC have done this before. This is something that a corporation of that size has to do.
There's two things there, aren't there? One is around whether the damages are warranted in this case. And as we can see, lots of media experts on the news and the BBC have taken their own media advice, suggest that there hasn't really been any defamation here in the terms in which required. So I'm not sure that a payment is required here. The second thing is that the scale of payment that Donald Trump is calling for is ludicrous. It's designed to showboat. It's designed to bring down the BBC if it was ever implemented. And the government has got to defend that. And that's what the Lib Dems are calling for.
Yeah. So, look, we're all waiting for 10 p.m. tonight. But as you'll know, Sabine, Donald Trump has managed to get media organisations in the United States to pay damages to him. I think it was $12 million from CBS and some $14 million from ABC as well. He's also obviously suing the New York Times at the moment, as well as the Wall Street Journal. The BBC will be very, very cognizant of the fact that he is a litigious man, as Samir Shah has said. Can an argument be made to try and assuage by paying the damages rather than taking it all the way fully through?
I think that's so wrong, and I think that's kowtowing. If there was a good legal argument, if someone was saying, well, actually, the BBC's done X, Y, Z things that would stack up in court, that might be fair enough. but I haven't yet seen a media expert on the news say that this is the case. Given that there seems to be no case to answer, the BBC has apologised twice. Clearly, they made huge mistakes. We agree with that. This stuff needs looking at, and it needs to not happen again. No one's doubting that. But in legal terms, there is no case, and I think this is bigger than the BBC. This is about protecting a huge national institution, a British national institution that belongs to the British people, and the Lib Dems would like to see the government being a bit more active in their defence.